After 200 plus chapters of Jujutsu Kaisen, we finally got what we've been waiting for years. Yuji's curse technique? No, calm down, we didn't get a miracle here. But we now figured out Sukuna's hidden curse technique. Kind of. You see, throughout the whole series, we've never seen Sukuna's innate technique. Dismantle and cleave, the two main attacks we've seen from him, are no more than an application of his curse energy. In chapter 115, Sukuna showed off some weird, unknown fire ability while fighting Gojo, which got the theorists spiraling after this single panel. The Black Box. This infamous box has been left unexplained for months until the recent chapters where things are starting to become clear. First things first, we need to understand how curse energy and techniques work. In the beginning of JJK, Gojo explains that curse energy is basically raw energy used to fuel a curse technique, akin to the relationship of electricity and electronics. Curse energy on its own does allow sorcerers to strengthen their body for both offensive and defensive purposes, while curse techniques are a bit more complicated and specialized per person. Once we realize where it comes from, it starts making more sense. Curse energy is theorized, inverse, to come from the stomach or gut and flow out to the rest of the body. Even though Todo does clarify that this way of thinking does delay the curse energy flow, it's a good place to start. On the other hand, more complicated abilities like reverse curse technique and a person's curse technique comes from the brain. We even got a very specific location from Sukuna in chapter 230, who explained that a curse technique is located in the right prefrontal cortex of the brain. Don't know how someone just finds that out, but okay now. A different way of looking at it is seeing a curse energy as raw emotions and a curse technique as a personality. Everyone has emotions, everyone feels anger and fear and all that stuff, just like curse energy. While personality is very specific, no one has the exact same personality. Sounds like a curse technique to me. Funny enough, well, not funny because I looked into it and I did some research, but a personality is considered to be controlled and located in the frontal lobes of the brain, where the prefrontal cortex is located. That's crazy. I think Gege is onto something here. And just plain emotions are housed in the limbic system, which is just a different part of the brain, not as exciting, but still important nonetheless. So now we know how these two abilities work in Jujutsu Kaisen, so let's go to the black box. Kusakabe states that the part of the brain that holds curse techniques, the right prefrontal cortex we recently learned, is considered a black box. This statement is what kickstarted the theorizing again, and turns out that black box is a term actually used in computer science and engineering. So, a black box is essentially a system or a process where all the inputs and outputs can be observed, but the actual process is unknown. To simplify, when we charge our phones, we know the inputs. We know to plug the charger into the outlet and into the phone. And we also know the outputs, the phone actually being charged. However, we do not know the specifics of how the electricity is interacting with the whatever, causing the charging to actually happen. That is a black box. The process is unknown to us. Even though the term is mainly used when talking about mechanics and computer sciences, it can also refer to the government, an algorithm, and even the human brain. It is all coming together now. So, let's take a normal curse sorcerer. They pour curse energy into the prefrontal cortex, bada bing bada boom, out comes a curse technique. Simple. We don't know the process, but we do know the output. But with this, I think we figured out Sukuna's innate technique. Drumroll please. Full body and soul control. Okay, yeah, it does sound a lot lamer than it actually is, but this allows him to be super powerful. Like, Sukuna definitely has some in-depth knowledge and control of his own soul. See when he split his soul into 20 different curse items? Remember that? This is a process that is stated in verse to be unknown to most curse sorcerers, which is why Kenjaku had to reincarnate a lot of the past sorcerers in the Culling games because they couldn't do it themselves. And Sukuna's soul splitting technique wasn't just used in the past. He was able to pour enough of his cursed energy and soul into Yuji's finger and force feed that bad boy to Megami to transfer his soul during the Culling games. With this idea of full control of the soul and body, it clears up the interaction between Mahito and Sukuna. In Yuji's first fight with Mahito, we see Sukuna actually interfered with idol transfiguration. The first time Sukuna just stopped Mahito, and the second time he countered it with a cleave or some attack. Idol transfiguration is seen as an instant change of the soul's shape, so Mahito just touching Yuji should be game over, but the fact that the curse technique was stopped completely is weird. Even Kenjaku, who was at this point completely stronger than Mahito, had to dodge the incoming attack from the cursed spirit before absorbing him, implying that this sorcerer with the ability to take over bodies and souls someone who definitely knows his own soul shape, would have had his soul change if the attack landed, making Sukuna's absolute shutdown of idol transfiguration even more strange, unless he has some kind of ability that moves or protects his very soul. Side tangent, this theory also works with the popular Sukuna Ada's twin theory, because it shows how the King of Curses has control over both souls, making it possible to use the curse technique of the twin. I'm personally not a believer of that theory, but you can't really talk about this subject without touching on that just a little bit. I think Sukuna's curse technique is a lot like Edward Elric from Fullmetal Alchemist witnessing the Gate of Truth. Sukuna has so much knowledge and control over his own body and soul that the black box of a curse technique becomes a white box. A white box is basically the exact opposite of a black box, go figure, as the process and inner components can be observed. So, Sukuna pours the curse energy into the prefrontal cortex, sees how the energy courses through, makes some small adjustments, which results in a whole new curse technique. No transmutation circle for Ed, and no single curse technique for Sukuna. The problem is, we've only seen Sukuna use the fire ability and the 2 slashing attacks, so not really much to base it off of. But his incredible intelligence and understanding of all the abilities he comes across does give a point to some advanced knowledge he has. But what do you guys think? Does my theory make sense, or am I way off? I also didn't know where to add this, but Yuji's new soul swapping ability does make more sense if Sukuna has a soul related power that is ingrained into Yuji. Just saying. Alright, peace.